Good morning, friends. Welcome to Akul Mac Live, and I'm Chandrakant. There has been a lot of innovation in the edtech area, and some says that the edtech will completely replace the way we do education. To analyze this point further, I will be joined by a very eminent speaker from Singapore. Her name is Farida Charania, and she is the CEO of Career Zoom. So, friends, let's welcome her. Good morning, Farida. Welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
Well, excellent. It's afternoon for us and it's been a very sunny day, so that's amazing. I'm very well, thank you. Hope you're doing well as well. And so I do hope our viewers are doing well as well.
Yes, Farida, thank you for asking. In fact, we are live right now, and viewers, if you have any question or comment, you can use the chat function of the social media, whichever social media you're watching this program, and we will display your name and question right away on the screen. So, Farida, I think the topic of today's discussion is about edtech. I think we would like to know from your experience, where do you see our education system going globally?
It's a very vast topic, and the whole journey from classroom-based learning to online learning, the whole digitization has happened very, very quickly, not by design but by compulsion because of this whole pandemic situation. While there are different schools of thoughts, and there are different opinions on this, I do feel that edtech is very, very prominent because it will give opportunities to people who didn't have this opportunity earlier to actually kind of engage in upgrading their skills and educating themselves. However, it will not completely replace classroom learning because social cues, the ability to interact, the ability to kind of understand working in a team, etc. At least in my opinion, it's not very easy to replicate that on online resources. So I think the model will evolve, which will be hybrid, and more learning could be pushed to online, but still classroom learning will not be replaced. At least I don't see it getting replaced very quickly in the next 10-15 years.
Well, Farida, from your point of view, what are the new developments which are happening in the edtech space in order to make the experience of online component of the education system much more pleasing for the student? Would you like to talk about a little bit on this aspect?
Yes, certainly. So, as you know, and some of our viewers probably know as well, that I have a young child because I often talk about her. She's 8 now, and we live in Singapore, and the entire education system has been so there is actually an alternate education system which is available online because the schools actually close and open depending on how the pandemic is shaping up. So what they have done is that they have created HBL portal, which is called SLS. It's home-based learning portal, and the entire experience is, actually being in a virtual school. So you can go to different classrooms. You actually kind of, go to the library. You actually do your CCA, which is your sports activities, because there are videos and you follow the exercise, etc. So in some countries, it is actually, kind of being developed in a way that at any stage it could be, either could be used classroom based learning or, home based learning. So I think in a lot of countries, this model has evolved very well. And that, kind of opens up a lot of other doors. I'm a business person, so I think, top line, bottom line. And I start thinking where, all these differences are happening. For instance, online imparting of education is a lot cheaper because, your cost of books, etc., goes down, cost of printing goes down, your entire real estate cost actually goes down. But it's been my personal experience where I have seen that children in this entire time they have become extremely screen dependent. A lot of them have had their, myopia really badly impacted. I never used to see so many children with glasses, but now you do see them because one is lack of sunlight and they are always on the screen. So you see that that is the downside. Children are putting on weight. I had never seen such round children in my entire life. But this entire 2 years, because the eating habits have changed, there are a lot of repercussions. But the good part is that in places where they did not have access to education that easily, now can be imparted. So I think this is evolution for good. There will be some downside like anything we use. So, because we will become more self-centric, we will, as an individual, when these children grow in this kind of hybrid environments, they may not make traditional choices in their careers, because now they know that they have a lot of options. You don't really need to go to an office to make money, because you can do it. So a lot of good things will also come out of this, but the downsides are also something that we need to consider. So while I don't know if this happens or not, but my expectation at least is that we should, as a society, as a global population, we should look at something which encourages hybrid models, because either is not fantastic, but a good mix of classroom based engagement and online learning is fantastic. And also, online learning gives opportunities to adults, because a lot of these courses are asynchronous. That means you can actually do them at your own time. You complete your assignments at your own time. So working adults can actually just educate themselves, enhance their skills. So edtech definitely is disrupting the industry. Real estate costs are very high, which gets passed on to the students. So if that is not there, the infrastructure cost to set up an online education system is definitely lower. And once you have set it up, there is only maintenance cost and upgradation cost. So that way, it's very good. But personally, if you ask me, I do see the downsides very closely, and I do hope that we will evolve into a hybrid model going forward.
Farida, I think as you rightly pointed out, that the students are having a lot of screen time and they are used to using the the systems which are currently available. And like any other field, there is a lot of advancement in AI, for example, taxation, office automation, etc. So, do you see a role of AI emerging in making sure that the experience of the students is not merely limited to screen, but a virtual augmented reality environment in education?
Yes, I do think that education is evolving much faster in the last couple of years than it ever evolved in the last 200 years. So yes, so right now probably the focus is on just making sure that you are imparting the education as per the times and as per the age and the learning capacity of that individual. But slowly things like gamification, etc., will come in, and there are a lot of companies which are already kind of taking steps in these directions. Some of them will become unicorns. Like nobody thought Uber will become a unicorn. Nobody thought borrowed cars without any infrastructure a company could actually become that big. And same thing will happen in education as well, because the entire experience of the student is going to change. It may not merely be limited to screens. It could be it could be a virtual reality glasses, it could be anything. You don't know, because what seems very unlikely today might be a reality tomorrow. 20 years back, we didn't think actually we would be using our phones as our personal entertainment systems. We just thought it's a phone, but today it's no longer just a phone, it's your bank, it's everything. So what seemed unlikely in the past is very much happening today. Nobody ever thought that maybe uh, digital currency would replace actual money, but in some countries it's actually replaced it completely, like China. If you don't have digital currency, you can't make a transaction. So it will all happen, but we don't know how long it takes. It might take much lesser. So I think to enhance the experience of the students, taking this education right from very young kids to adults who are going to adult learning, etc. This experience will be augmented. The AI will come into picture, and AI is coming into picture everywhere. AI is not here to replace humans, like I always say, it's here to augment their experience. And that is going to happen. It might actually kind of, even AI might come into things like examinations, because in a virtual environment, it's very difficult to figure out if someone is, not really kind of being honest with the examinations. And AI can actually, kind of come into picture there. So all of these things are possible, but only time will tell how they are going to evolve.
And you mentioned a very important point about the evolution of education. And I think while there is a lot of screen time for the students who are studying in an online manner, however, I don't see any evolution over there, because they are still following the classroom pattern. They are still using the textbook, and the only difference is that instead of sitting in the classroom, the teacher is standing in front of a camera. However, why this evolution is not taking place, I firmly believe is related to regulation. So I think that the governments of various countries also need to come out with regulation. What is your opinion on this point? Do you see, or do you have a message to various governments in this area?
Yes, certainly. So the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, in Singapore, it's very structured. Actually, Zoom classes are not very common here in Singapore, because the entire experience is like a school setup online. So, children actually, and all these lessons are pre recorded, and, children actually take these lessons. So it really depends where you are. Now, in large countries, it's very difficult, one, to, kind of align regulations, because if you consider a country like India, it's very vast. Not everyone has access to fantastic bandwidths. Not everyone has access to, say, laptops, because a lot of them, and I know of cases where, children are studying through the phone when the schools are closed. So not everyone has access to those kind of screens. Again, languages. In India, not all education is imparted in English. It is, imparted in so many languages. So those kind of, geographies, if you look at, say, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, or, even for instance, you say Indonesia. So these countries, the regulations are very difficult to set in, but they would come in, because there is, you sooner or later you have to join the bandwagon. It's like, whole digitization phase. Like, for instance, in Africa, the entire digitization happened not because they are very forward. It happened because they don't have infrastructure. And it's a lot easier to set up digital infrastructure than to actually do brick and mortar. So, it was much easier. And that whole, pivot happened because of that. Now, various governments, I'm sure, are, kind of working towards this and there. But I think what would really help is if there is a central body globally which is able to guide and give directions. So certain things could be common across all geographies. Because if this is going to be the world tomorrow, then the hybrid models need to be, kind of, they can't be customized. I mean, they can be customized, but they can't be very different from each other globally. Because what will then happen, that some countries where it's very fantastically structured will move very much ahead of the other countries where this infrastructure is not available. So there has to be a central body which is able to, govern as to what is the best way to kind of, align this. So I think my message to any government and people who are listening is that we definitely need a global central body, and every country has to pivot. They have to kind of, come out with the ways where the cost can be reduced and more knowledge can be imparted. More students can actually get educated.
Uh, uh, Actually, you mentioned about difficulty in taking out the education system, especially in a country like India, where there are so many languages and so many different types of board systems, etc. So I think the good news is that the Indian government realized there is a need for this, and they actually standardize the NCERT curriculum across the nation. And it is provided online,
Yes.
and it is free. So I think they have taken the first step, but I think subsequently the Indian government has to create a framework to allow innovation in this area. Having made this point, I'd like to ask you that how you yourself in personal capacity or your company Career Zoom is planning, or you have some ideas about reforming the education system, whether in Singapore or any other place?
Sure. So I do work with companies in the edtech space more, as an advisor, as a board member. And one of the things which, again, education is something which is very close to my heart, because I think everyone should, it's a basic thing and everyone should have access to education. So one of the things that, which I kind of aspire to do is with the companies that I work with, that education in terms of, skills upgrading. So, the ability to learn different languages, ability to learn, different coding, etc. All of this should be available to everyone. And that needs to be done, at the top. Can't be a one person game. It has to be done at the top. It has to come from the top in terms of the availability, innovation in this area. How quickly can you actually, kind of get people onto it? How easy it is for them to understand this mode of, instruction? And more importantly, the governments as well as companies need to recognize these qualifications, because that's still a very large gap. Like, I have an online PhD, but I don't really kind of call myself Dr. Farida Charania, because though, my entire thesis is actually as someone who would, kind of have done with a coach, etc., with a guide and all of that. Honestly speaking, I don't know if it is recognized. So even if I just put it somewhere, there is no, recognition for things like that. And of course, I got this PhD a few years ago, but the thing is that even today, if I were to have the same PhD, it might not be recognized. So I think the framework needs to come into spaces where what can be recognized as formal education and what can be recognized as skill upgradation, and all of these certifications need to be recognized. It's not just a piece of paper or just not a digital certificate. So I think the pivot needs to be made there. That is very key. And then of course innovation comes in to make it easier to access, easier to understand, and easier to, or rather, enhance the experience of people involved in this. But the first pivot is to really, kind of get to a stage where all of these certifications can be recognized.
Absolutely, Farida ji. In fact, I second you absolutely on these points, and I think you have spoken very well. I'm sure the viewers would have got some idea. This is a very vast subject. It requires more number of sessions. So as the technology evolve, we will keep following this, and we will invite you again in future for more information and ideas from you. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Always excited to have this chat with you, CK, because always, happy to be on your show. And I think we have some great chemistry here, where it's not just about discussing, but we do come out with certain things which could be useful for people. So, yeah, I mean, happy to come on your show anytime that you call me. So great. Thank you very much, CK. Absolute pleasure. And thank you, all the viewers. Stay well, stay healthy. And I think a lot of viewers would be actually celebrating Diwali. So, yeah, happy Diwali in advance. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Farida ji, and happy Diwali to you too. And we will catch up in the next one.